Hi guys, we've got the 2019 Harley Davidson Sport Glide, rocking the 107 Milwaukee 8. Got the Reinhardt slip-ons. We did some crash bars, floorboards. Let's hop on and go for a ride. So the first thing you notice when you hop on this motorcycle is the comfort factor. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again, this bike is so comfortable. Of course, I'm only riding the stock seat, and when I bought the bike 6 months ago, I had a feeling that the Harley Davidson dealership might try and upsell me to an aftermarket seat. And they actually told me I wouldn't need an aftermarket seat, but they said just ride it for a bit, see what your thoughts are, and come back to us if you feel like you do. So it's been 6 months. I've done 5,000 Ks, 1,000 Ks a month roughly. It's been actually 5 months, so it is 5,000 Ks, which isn't heaps, but more than some people, I guess. And but yeah, this seat is extremely comfortable. I went on a ride yesterday to pick up a Harley Davidson luggage bike from a Harley Davidson dealership about 300 kilometers away from me, or maybe 250 kilometers away from me. And yeah, I found the 500k round trip to be not a problem on this bike in terms of comfort on the seat. So top marks for comfort for Harley Davidson on this bike. They definitely got it right. The other thing I love about the Sport Glide is it really is an all-rounder from Harley. So you've got your saddlebags and your batwing fairing if you want to go and do a couple of 1,000 Ks and do a little bit of touring. But if you just want to strip it back and go around town, you can take the saddlebags off, you can take the batwing fairing off, and you've got yourself a really classic looking round town Harley Davidson chopper looking bike, and it's really cool. I love that. I love that versatility, and I think that's one of the things that's making this bike really popular. Of course, rocking the 107 Milwaukee 8. It's more power than you're going to need. Probably performs better than a touring bike due to the lighter weight. So if you compare this weight to, say, a Road King comes in around about 350. And the Sport Glide comes in at around about, let's say, between 350 and 320, so it's about 35 kilos lighter, which, you know, you don't notice it when you're on the road anyway, just go down. But you know, at a standstill you might notice it at the lights or whatever. So for a bike of its size, this bike is both a great highway bike and a great long distance tourer, but it's also a good ride up through the twisties on a Sunday with your mates. It actually handles surprisingly well. It's a really nimble bike. It's very flickable, loves the corners, chews up the highway miles. There's not really much I can say about this bike that I don't like. There's not really anything about this bike that I don't like. Love that big classic Harley Davidson lamp. It's got a real classic Harley Davidson look about it. It's got the big old tank. Had a couple of guys whinging to me about the fuel gauge on the Sport Glide, and what was happening was you'd get down to your tank gauge would say that you had like 20 kilometers left to go before empty. So you go and you fill up, and it's an 18.9 litre tank, and it would only take 15 litres or 16 litres. So they were complaining to Harley about you know, an inaccurate reading and all this sort of stuff. And I spoke to a mechanic about it who works at Harley Davidson, and it was actually quite interesting what he had to say about it. And he said this. He said Harley Davidson call it the idiot factor. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if your odometer or your fuel gauge says you've got 20 k's left, you've pushed your bike to the limit. Now, you hope you've got 20 k's to get to the servo to refuel. What if you don't have 20 k's? Then you're in big trouble. So Harley Davidson call it the idiot factor, where they allow for people who like to ride to the very end of the fuel gauge's limits. And they give you a couple of extra litres just to allow for stupidity, so that you don't end up on the highway pushing your bike on the hard shoulder to the nearest service station because you couldn't be bothered refueling. I thought that was interesting, and it makes sense. And another issue that people have had with the Sport Glides, the digital tacho, I suppose you want to call it, or the digital part of the odometer fogging over. I've actually had this issue myself. Not a major issue, but I haven't found it to be really bad, but I have found it to be at times you know, with the bit where it says the time or the k's left and all that sort of stuff and what gear you're in, that digital part of the odometer does fog over. So it's a warranty issue that Harley Davidson are very aware of, and if it's happening to you or your bike, you need to contact your local Harley Davidson dealership and get some advice from them. If it's happening to you within your 12-month warranty period but it's not bothering you too much, you need to at least mention it within that 12-month warranty period, so that they've been made aware of it whilst you're under warranty, so that later on you're still covered. I would imagine that would be my take on that one. Don't quote me on that though. So I contemplated trading this bike in for a Road King, and then I thought, well, why bother? This bike's doing all I need and giving me that versatility that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, it's a very economical motorcycle. I'm getting roughly between 350 to 400 k's per tank, depending on how close I get to the idiot factor. So to sum up my thoughts of this Sport Glide after 5,000 k's of ownership, this bike has not let me down at all. It has been an excellent performer. It has been a great tourer. It has been a great Sunday bike ride through the twisties with my mates. It's very handy to run down to the shops because you just want to get a few bits and bobs from Woolies and chuck your crap into your saddlebags. It's been really comfortable. It's an all-round winner. I really can't fault it. Apart from that issue with the speedo fogging up, which has been a common occurrence in most Harley Davidsons, I do believe. So guys, that wraps up my take on the 2019 Harley Davidson Sport Glide. Thanks for watching. I hope it helps if you're thinking of grabbing one yourself, if you're thinking of buying one. Definitely you should go to your local dealer and go for a test ride. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe this video if it helps you out. And we'll see you guys in the next one.